Hello, everyone. Welcome to our HR class with the University of Nebraska at Kearney. I'm thrilled today to be joined by Emily Jameson. Emily is a great friend of mine, and she was willing to talk with us today. So, Emily, thank you for joining our class. A little bit about Emily. She joined Barney Financial Service in 2016 as a second career, previously spending 10 years in education as a first grade teacher with Lincoln Public Schools and a teaching and learning coordinator at the Educational Service Unit 10 here in Kearney. Emily is a certified financial planner, a qualified member of the Kingdom Advisors, and holds the Series 7 General Securities License, Series 66 NASAA Uniform Combined State Law License, and Series 24 General Securities Principal License through LPL Financial. She also has a bachelor's degree from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln in elementary education and a master's degree from Doane College in curriculum and instruction and educational leadership. She enjoys working with people to make a plan that will help them reach their financial goals, whether they are saving for the future or wanting to make sure their money will last throughout retirement. She lives in Kearney with her husband, Aaron, and her 4 wonderful children, Kayla, Zach, Alyssa, and Olivia. Thanks, Emily, for joining us today.
Yes, thanks for having me, and thank you for that introduction. I am glad to be joining everybody today. So, like Chelsea mentioned, my first career was in education, and then just through, I guess, the stars aligning, I ended up joining my family's business. My dad founded Barney Financial when I was in 8th grade, and so I have found my way in a new way to help people in life. So I'm glad to be able to join you guys today. I'm going to share my screen here. I have a slide deck prepared, and we can just jump right in.
Perfect, thanks.
Yes. So, like I mentioned, we're just going to kind of be going over different benefits that you have available and just how to navigate some of the unique benefits that are available to people in public education. So, as we jump in, my topics, obviously, we're going to spend a lot of time talking about the NPERS pension, which is a very wonderful benefit that all public teachers are going to be getting in the state of Nebraska. Then we also have 403B retirement savings plans. I'll talk a little bit about other types of benefits, including health insurance, fringe benefits, including dental and vision, life insurance, disability, supplemental, and cafeteria flexible spending plans. Really, all of these things, the purpose of helping you get a better understanding of them is obviously one of your roles when you become a principal or some other administrator in a district is going to be hiring candidates, and not only having the skills to interview and seek out those candidates, but once you have a candidate that you want to extend an offer to be able to communicate well what it is that your district offers and to feel confident in explaining the different benefits that you have. And being able to do that will help set you apart from perhaps competing job offers for those people that you're wanting to hire. And it also hopefully will help you personally to understand the benefits that you currently have. So as we jump in, I encourage you to click along as I go through these slides. It's really going to be helpful for you if you interact. So please pull up another window in your web browser and go to the website that I have up on the screen. NPERS, the Nebraska Public Employee Retirement Systems, is for teachers is what's called a defined benefit pension plan. And so what that means is the number of dollars that you've personally contributed to the plan do not determine your benefit. Rather, the number of years of service, how much you were paid while you worked, and several other factors are really the main determinants in what benefit that you receive once you retire. So if you are at the website, you see you can hover on this plan info menu option. And when you do that, this drop-down menu will pop up. And obviously we're going to be probably looking at Nebraska schools, although you can see now there's an option to view the different plan that's in place for Omaha schools. NPERS is now administering the Omaha Public Schools plan as well. So once you are on the school employee pension plan, there'll be some different notices that changed at different times on the homepage there. But the main thing that we're going to be spending time on today is this benefit estimator. And I have highlighted that there with my green arrow. So go ahead and click there if you're following along with me. And when you do, it'll have this little disclosure pop up. And this is basically telling you these are not official estimates. It's just something to give you an idea, and you actually are not able to get an official estimate from the state of Nebraska until you are within 1 year of your retirement date. So you can use this unofficial estimator as often as you want, no matter what age you are and no matter how long you've been in the system, but you cannot get an official estimate from NPERS until you're within a year of retiring. So if you're taking this class, that's probably a ways off for you. And there's a few other disclaimers about other tax ramifications of different things. And so you just want to check the box that you've read the disclaimer and that you understand it's not an official determination of your benefits. Once you check that box, then you have these other buttons that pop up. And obviously in your case, you're going to choose the school button. And so once you pop the school button, it's going to give you this calculation screen or something that looks very similar. And so, as I mentioned before, the main things that are going to feed into what this spits out are going to be how long you have worked for the schools and how much you made while you worked there. Your age also does impact the calculation as well. And so I'm just going to kind of walk through an example scenario that I built and then talk you through what each of the things mean. So here I've plugged in someone who was born January 1st, 1980, and they're going to retire in June of 2040. And then they're going to ask for their benefits to start the following month in July of 2040. And I've pretended that they've had at that time 25 years of service at retirement and that they started before July of 2013. Then here I've plugged in that they made $45,000, $50,000, and $55,000 as their 3 highest salary years. So something that a lot of people maybe don't realize is, some calculations for other benefits might look at, say, your most recent 5 years of salary or something. But if you had a higher salary earlier on in your career for some different role that you were in, or extra duties that you were paid for in some years, but not others, you just want to go with the highest 3, regardless of if they're the most recent. And then you really don't need to put anything in your account balance. Once a year, NPERS will mail you a statement that says what your balance is, and it tells you what you have your beneficiaries listed, and it tells you what they have as your official number of years of service, but your account balance really does not matter. So don't worry about going and finding that paper that they mail you once a year. It's not going to affect the number that this spits out. If you have a spouse beneficiary, you're going to choose spousal there, obviously, and then it's going to ask you for your spouse's date of birth. The reason why it's doing that is because it's going to calculate an option for you to take benefits for yourself and for your spouse. So, like I said before, part of the calculation that they use includes how old the person is who's applying for the benefit. And so they're going to take into consideration, if you have a spouse, how old they are also. I typically just put no on calculating taxes. They're just estimates that are rough anyway, and it's usually not that helpful to have them include that. After I've plugged in all the information on the fields, I'm going to click calculate your estimate, and then it will spit out all this different information. So I want to just kind of talk you through what each of these means and different scenarios when they might be applicable to someone's situation. So the first option is always going to be what's called life only. That's going to be the most, I guess, most lucrative, the highest dollar amount that they're going to offer. And basically what that means is the person who contributed to the pension plan is based on their life. So as long as that person is alive, NPERS is saying, based on the data that I plugged in before, that that person would receive just under $3,000 a month for as long as they're alive. So if this person retires when they're 65 and they live to be 105, it doesn't matter how much they contributed into the plan, NPERS is going to pay them just under $3,000 for as long as they're alive. Now that same person, they retire when they're 65, they're in a terrible car accident 2 months after they turn their benefit on, then they will have only received under $6,000, and there's no payment to any beneficiaries of any kind. It's just while you're alive, they pay you, and when you're not, the money is just part of the plan. So there's no reason for them to pay out anything extra. If you choose the life only, you are giving up all of your cash balance in exchange for this stream of payments. Option 2 is showing 0 because I didn't put in what the cash balance is, because it's never a good option. I say that a little bit tongue in cheek, but no, usually in this particular pension plan, the modified cash refund is just going to be a return of the contributions that you've made, plus the interest, and any contributions that your school district has made on your behalf are going to stay in the plan. So, and typically the school district contributes even more than you do. And so what they offer you for a refund is just usually not good, because all the rest of these calculations are based on both your contributions and the school district's contributions funding the benefit. The other 3 options that are below that modified cash refund that are called option 3 are sometimes called a period certain. And in this example, it's showing a certain in life. And each of these, you have an opportunity to name a beneficiary. So that's something that option 1 does not offer. All the rest of the options, you can name a beneficiary. So a certain in life, obviously you can see a 5, 10, and a 15-year payout option. And the longer you choose, the less money they're offering. And so what that means is, let's say in that scenario that I explained earlier, someone retires at 65, turns on their benefits, 2 months later, they're in a car accident, they die. If you chose a certain in life, then someone else will receive your benefit for that time period total. So your 2 months would count toward the 5 years if, say, you chose that. So someone else that you've named as a beneficiary would get a benefit for 4 years and 10 months. The main reason why anyone might choose this type of option would be if they're not married, you can name a beneficiary that's not your spouse. So perhaps you're widowed or you were never married. Maybe you have a child and you don't have very good health, and you think, I want to be able to pass some money on to my child. I'm probably not going to live very long, so I'm going to choose a benefit that would be able to pay to my child. That would really be one of the only scenarios where I would personally recommend someone do a period certain option, although, you know, certainly any individual situation, I can't just give general blanket advice. I'd need to visit with individual people before making those determinations. But that would be an example of one type of scenario where that might be a good option for someone. The other options, you see the little J and S, those stand for joint and survivor. And those options all must have a spouse as a beneficiary. So 50%, 75%, and 100% refer to the amount of payout that would go to your spouse beneficiary. So again, the greater the percentage, the less they're offering to pay, because what they're trying to figure out is how much is the plan going to have to pay out over time. And they're using different statistics to make those determinations. So if you chose a 50% joint and survivor, you name your spouse as the beneficiary, there are several different scenarios that could happen. You can see in this case, they're going to reduce your benefit by about $200 a month compared to just taking one on your own life only. So I'll pick on myself here. If I chose a 50% joint and survivor and I die, my husband is still alive in this imaginary scenario, he would get half of that $27.50 as long as he's alive. Now, if the roles are reversed and my husband predeceases me, I've still chosen the joint and survivor option. I have no ability to change that. And I've just chosen the lower benefit amount every month. And if Aaron would predecease me, then no one will get the benefit after I die. It will only go to me, which would have happened if I had chosen the life only option, right? So a lot of times, people that are married have to think through some really difficult things, like, is one of us in better health than the other? Is one of us significantly older than the other? Statistically speaking, women outlive men, but that's not always the case if you have a illness that you're dealing with or other situations that you might be thinking about. So, it's not cut and dried, but oftentimes I see women choose the life only option and men choose a joint and survivor option if they're married for those very statistical reasons. But typically when I'm recommending joint and survivor options to people, I recommend the 100% joint and survivor option. Like I mentioned before, if you take the 50% option while the owner of the pension is alive, you get whatever the number it is that says gross benefit amount, in this case, $27.50. And after the passing of the owner of the account, the spouse gets half of whatever that number is. Option 4B, 75%, is just like it sounds. You take a little bit less up front, $26.60, let's call it. And if the owner of the pension plan passes away first, the surviving spouse gets 75% of that number. If you choose the 100% joint and survivor option, then if the pension owner passes away first, the surviving spouse would receive the full $25.76 a month for as long as the surviving spouse lives. Now, with all three of the joint and survivor options, there are no other beneficiaries allowed to be named besides the spouse. So again, let's go back to my car accident scenario. If I choose the 100% joint and survivor, I get my benefits for 2 months. My husband and I are both in the same car crash and we die. Our children will get nothing. So those are all risks that go with having a defined benefit pension plan. However, another risk is that I would live to be 110 and spend all my other money because I haven't saved enough to plan for living that long. And so a pension is a great asset to have if you're concerned about what's referred to as longevity risk. Longevity risk is the risk that you'll outlive your money because you'll have a very long life. And so, those are all considerations that go into play when you're looking at what might be the best option for me. Just as a kind of aside, a woman who's age 65 today has an average life expectancy of 89, and a man who's age 65 today has an average life expectancy of 86. So, even if you're retiring at age 65, the odds are in your favor that you're going to have at least another 15 or 20, maybe more years that you're going to have to provide income for yourself. And a pension can be a really wonderful way to do that, because no matter what the markets are doing, no matter what the economy is doing, the state of Nebraska is promising to pay these pension benefits, and they are willing to guarantee that. Obviously, people contribute to the plan and they invest your contributions on your behalf. But if they needed to, they also have taxation authority to be able to shore up the pension fund if that's needed. So, it's really, like I said, there are some drawbacks as far as benefits for loved ones that are not spouses. But other than that, you really have an excellent benefit in retirement income that is just really, there's not a comparison in the private sector at all for something that's this robust. I can't even ever think of a time when I had told a teacher to take a cash refund. The only scenario where I could think of that a cash refund would be better than the pension benefit would be, if someone was single and had no children and was terminally ill. That would be really the only scenario that I could imagine where there's really no beneficiaries and you have the very short life expectancy. That would be really the only scenario where a modified cash refund would be more advantageous than taking one of the pension options. Obviously, if you take the modified cash refund, you can do whatever you want with it. You can spend it as quickly as you want, and you can leave it to whoever you want. So those are all, I guess, positives for the modified cash refund. But again, you just get such a reduction in what they're offering you compared to the mathematical benefit of what they offer in the pension that I just never have had a teacher that it's made sense to take that. So all of these kind of look intimidating when you see them because it's just lingo that you don't hear in every day, but it's very straightforward once you understand what it is they're trying to talk about. So again, life only just means as long as the person who contributed to the plan is alive, they'll pay. The certain in life allows you to name a beneficiary other than a spouse. And I guess as an aside, I will say it is these timelines, I believe I mentioned this, are total. So it's not after I die, then for 15 more years, if I've taken the 15-year certain that this will pay. It's a guarantee that at least for 15 years it will pay. So if I choose the 15-year option and I live 14 years, my beneficiary will get 1 more year of payments. If I choose the 15-year option and I live 15 years and 1 month, my beneficiary will get nothing. So again, then I just chose a benefit that paid me less for nothing. So you don't have a crystal ball, you can't predict the future, but you just need to be able to think through all those different scenarios when you're evaluating your options. So obviously the NPERS pension is going to be the same for any public school in the state of Nebraska. So, the main thing that I feel would help you as you're hiring is to just be able to confidently communicate that, because I've found that many teachers, even administrators, don't understand the plan. They don't understand how it works, and it's stressful to them to think, okay, I just see this, maybe I don't even look at my pay stub, but if I look at my pay stub and I see I have these hundreds of dollars every single month that's going somewhere and I get a statement once a year, what does that even mean? And if you feel confident helping your teachers understand this, then they will appreciate that and see that part of your leadership as valuable. Okay, other than NPERS, schools can also offer what are called 403B retirement plans. A 403B is kind of like a 401k. A 401k is typically offered by a for-profit business, and 403Bs are typically offered by either nonprofits or government entities like schools. They can also be offered, often I see them by churches or other nonprofit entities. So in 403Bs, they are what are called a defined contribution plan. So like I mentioned before, NPERS is a defined benefit plan. You are getting a specific payment as long as you're alive, or whatever option you choose, And it doesn't matter what you contributed in order to get that benefit. A 403B is the opposite. It's a defined contribution. So you could say, I'm putting $300 a month into my 403B. I'm defining how much I'm contributing, and I can invest it however I want. And then when I retire, whatever is in there is what I get. And if I spend it all, then there's not any more. And if I live to be 110 and I spent all my money in my 403B, then they're not going to just keep paying me. That the money that's in there is my own. And when it's gone, it's gone. There are a few advantages on the 403B. So obviously with a defined benefit plan, in the case that I showed before, let's say you're getting $3,000 a month. Well, if you want to buy a vehicle, you're just going to have to finance that vehicle if you don't have other savings. And if you have other savings, you might be able to afford to take a withdrawal from an account and pay for something upfront. If you have a large expense like a vehicle or a trip or a home remodel, those would be things that you would have flexibility to take more than just whatever your monthly allocation from NPERS would be. Another difference, which could be to your advantage or disadvantage, is that you can choose how to invest the funds inside your 403B. Inside the NPERS pension plan, the administrators of the pension who work for the state of Nebraska decide how that money gets invested, and they set a flat rate of interest, and the minimum it can earn is 5%. As we've seen interest rates tick up in the last couple of years, they have increased what it's paying out, but not a lot. I believe this quarter, which is the first quarter of 2024, when we're recording this, that the NPERS plan is paying 5.76% this quarter. And they'll update that every quarter, and you don't have any say over it. And you just, your money goes in there and you get it out when you retire, and it's not up to you how it's done. A 403B, you can choose mutual funds or other types of investments inside of those plans, and you can choose to be as aggressive or as conservative as you want to be, and you can change how you invest it over time. Like I mentioned before, in NPERS pension, your school district is going to be contributing. Usually, I hesitate to say match, because usually they put in more than what you put in. The 403B, the school district typically doesn't contribute anything. So it's just the employee choosing to defer some of their compensation. And as you can see here, I wrote what the limits are in 2024, up to $23,000 per person. And then we have the additional catch up per person. Anyone who's over age 50 can do, and I believe it has been updated since 2022, but this number of 7,500 is correct for the year. If you are over age 50, you could contribute $30,500. All of these funds have to be added via payroll deduction, and whoever does the payroll has 15 days from when they withhold it to actually make the deposit and get those funds invested. So it's a little bit longer than what you have inside of a 401k. Typically, those have to be invested within 6 days. But again, it can be invested in a full range of fund options. And the other thing that's really nice that's available inside of a 403b is that you can choose to fund either pre-tax, which is also a deductible contribution, or sometimes called before tax. So, like in my scenario, you're putting $300 a month in, you'll get a tax deduction for that fund of $300 every month. It'll come off of your taxable income for that year. Your NPERS contributions are also tax deductible. And then when it comes out, you pay tax on it. And the same thing would be true here. You'll pay tax on your NPERS pension benefits. You'll also pay tax on your 403b whenever you make those withdrawals, unless you choose Roth, or also known as non-deductible or after-tax contributions. The main difference there is you get no deduction for funding your Roth now, but when you withdraw Roth dollars, you have tax-free growth, and you never pay tax on the earnings either, as long as you leave the money in there until you're 59 and a half, which is going to come on my next slide here. So your NPERS pension, you're going to have to meet that rule of 85, where your age plus your years of service equals 85, or you'll have to reach the full retirement age of the plan. For 403Bs, you have to be age 59 and a half. So depending on how early you started teaching and how many years in a row that you made it, that might be later or earlier for you than what you can access 403B. A little bit more information about 403B. So one feature that's really nice, if you make pre-tax contributions to your 403B where you're getting a deduction for funding that pre-tax 403B money can be used to buy additional years of service in NPERS. So if, for example, you took a 5-year maternity leave or something like that, and you came back, and so then when you were ready to retire, your benefit is going to be reduced because you didn't have those years of service where you took some time off. Or maybe it was a second career for you, and so you're just trying to look at your options for how can I increase my pension benefit. Some people will use pre-tax 403B dollars to purchase additional years of service for NPERS. And they have an estimator on the website, and you can also reach out to NPERS and they'll do a more official calculation. Like I said, you have to be within a year to get that official calculation. But basically, they would say, here's how much it would cost you to buy one more year. If you bought one more year, here's how much your pension payment would go up. And then you just have to decide if that's worth it or not. You can see how much would it cost for me to buy 3 more years, and then how much would my payment increase if I bought 3 more years. So there are just some different ways that you can utilize those dollars in the future. If you make withdrawals prior to age 59 and a half, there is an IRS early withdrawal tax penalty of 10%. And like I said earlier, you'd also have to pay tax on that money on top of the penalty. You have what are called required minimum distributions, or RMDs, that start at age 73. So the IRS says you've gotten a tax break for funding these accounts, and now we need your tax money when you're in retirement. So those start at age 73. Once you're no longer working for the school, you can roll those 403B plans into an IRA or into a Roth IRA after your separation from service. Another advantage on 403B plans is that you can name any beneficiary. So it could be a charity. It could be a relative that's not your spouse. You can have as many as you want. So you could have, if you wanted to have all of your grandkids listed or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It's full control for you to name any beneficiary that you want and any number of beneficiaries that you want on your 403B. So again, something that not a lot of teachers take advantage of, because obviously we get teacher pay and have our NPERS contributions that are forced upon us, but this is often a really nice option if there are people who want to contribute above and beyond what's required for the NPERS plan. This is something that my office provides for schools. And so, if there's something that you want more information about, that's something that I'd be happy to set up an appointment to discuss. Major benefit that you want to make sure you promote and sell to the people that you're trying to hire are your health insurance benefits. So when you visit with people, you want to be able to communicate what is the amount that the school is paying in real dollars to that person. Don't tell them like, oh, we're paying 80% or we're paying 95% or whatever it is. Tell them exactly what that means in a dollar amount and how much that they have to pay in a dollar amount. Also make sure you describe what their deductible would be and what their maximum out of pocket is. If you're not sure what that means, then you're going to have a really hard time communicating that. But obviously, that's why I'm having this discussion with you. So your deductible is going to be the amount that you have to pay before insurance starts paying. And so sometimes I'll see anywhere from $1,000 to an $8,000 deductible on a school plan. And then the max out of pocket is typically after you've met your deductible, you have some kind of copays that kick in, right? Maybe they're 80 insurance, once you've met your deductible, will pay 80% of the bill and you have to pay 20% or something along that cost sharing breakdown until you reach your maximum out of pocket. So I might have to pay 20% of my bills after I've met my deductible until I hit my max out of pocket, which is maybe, 4 times my deductible or something like that. You just want to make sure that whoever is providing the health insurance for your district, that you make the time to sit down with them and be familiar with the plan in and out, because your teachers are going to have questions about how it works. And sometimes the rep that is explaining the plan on benefit day might not be available when they think of their question 3 months later. So, you just want to be able to at least on a surface level have that understanding, and then obviously refer them on to other people if that's something that you aren't sure about. The other thing is a lot of times schools will provide different amounts towards single or family coverage. And obviously for someone with a family, this is going to be a major selling point for your school if you can offer even partial family coverage. And like I said before, make sure you spell that out in dollar amounts because money talks. Fringe benefits are also a really nice way to just kind of sweeten the deal for people, I guess, so to speak. If your school says, well, we have NPERS, and if you want to put your own money in a 403B, you can, and we'll pay for your own health insurance, but no one in your family, and we don't have anything else that we can offer for you. And the school down the street is offering them $5,000 less of a salary than you are, but they offer everything that's on this screen. That person might pass you up if you're not at least trying to compete on some of these other benefits that mean something to people. So again, the fringe benefits are typically offered as dental and vision, life insurance, disability, both short and long term, supplemental insurance, and a cafeteria flexible spending plan. The cafeteria plan is really just an opportunity for your employees to put their own money away for things like dependent care and health expenses, and it allows them to do that in a tax advantaged way. All the other things up there are different types of insurance, and I'm not going to spend a ton of time on those today, but really anything that you can be chipping in on as a district and anything that you can be providing at least at a partial cost share to your employees is going to just really go a long way. We know how competitive the market is for teachers right now, and you want to make sure that you're being competitive in what you're offering. So one piece of advice, and I've kind of alluded to this earlier, is to just whatever your benefits package is, make it transparent. Put the dollar amount to it. When you sit down with that candidate to offer them a job, have a piece of paper with something like this typed out that says exactly what it is that you're offering and add it up. Okay, here's what we would put into NPERS for the whole year if we're paying you this salary. And here's how much of the health insurance that we're covering for you. And here's how much the dollar value of what we're adding to your paycheck every single month adds up to be. And so in my scenario earlier, if the place down the street is offering half of the health insurance that you're offering and nothing other than the NPERS match, you could maybe still attract that candidate even with a lower initial salary, as long as you communicate well that your salary isn't all that we're spending on you. We are putting together a lot of other resources to provide a robust benefit package for you. And even if the place down the street is offering all these same benefits, if they're not communicating them in this way, it's going to give you a big advantage. If I'm sitting down as a prospective employee and the person down the street says, well, I think we have life insurance, but there's a guy that you have to talk to about that because I don't know anything. And we'll make sure we get you signed up for the health insurance, but I don't know what the deductibles are. And I'm pretty sure we do something for family, but I'm going to have to check into that and I'll get back to you. And then the next afternoon, they come and interview with you and you sit down with a sheet like this. It's going to be a no brainer for them to think, wow, this person really knows their stuff. They have it together. They're a good communicator. I think I'd rather work here than down the street where Joe Schmo is more worried about if the bus is running and not what I'm here to talk about, you know? So there's definitely just a way that you can confidently portray yourself as the administrator. And even if you don't know all the details about all of the things that you're offering, to at least have enough knowledge to feel confident to have a surface level conversation with a potential employee, you will do yourself a huge favor as you're trying to attract candidates. The other thing, and I've alluded to this a little bit earlier as well, is to just have a good team. So if you can communicate at the surface level, you know, here's what our life insurance benefit is. You can also choose to add this much extra coverage for this much extra dollars. And, you know, here you can also add your spouse or whatever it is that's available. If you can just describe the basic benefit to the person, then that will be so helpful. But if people have more in-depth questions, you're going to want to reach out to a good team. And so, like I said, I do offer the 403b plan administration services here in my office. Isaac Lind with Barney Insurance helps with things like group benefits for life, disability, dental, and vision. And so does Brian Northup out of Comp Pro in Lincoln. And then, you know, a lot of schools I have seen using things like AFLAC for supplemental insurance. I personally would recommend Leslie Henriksen. She uses what's called Globe Life, which is a competitor to AFLAC, and they offer what's called a return of premium on all of their policies, which AFLAC doesn't. So definitely worth shopping around and just considering your options if that's something that you know, you get hired and you're looking over your benefits plan and you think, well, gosh, we don't have any supplemental insurance that we offer, or we offer this, but I don't even understand what it is or if it's any good. Just important to have somebody you can talk to about it. And then the Cafeteria Flexible Spending Plan Administration, AMGL in Grand Island administers it. If you're looking for someone local, I know they do a very good job. So those would be, you know, just experts to have in your corner. You know, you're going to be kind of the jack of all trades, maybe master of none on some of these things, but I think as long as you have that basic knowledge, the confidence to communicate it, and a good team to back you up, you'll go a long way. So that pretty much wraps it up for me. I've got to show my slide of disclosures here. And then if people have questions, I am available. The best way to get a hold of me is via email. And I know I put my email up on the slide before this, so I'll put it back up there again. And then obviously you can also call or you can text that office number that's listed there underneath my email address. But it's been lovely talking benefits, and I wish you all the best as you continue your education to become the future administrators of the schools here in our area.
Oh, thank you, Emily, so much. It's always great to hear from you, and I learn something from your presentation every time. I'll make sure I have your email and phone number on our Canvas page as well for our students. But thank you so much, and we really appreciate your time.
Thank you.